on the students, the insecurity, comparison with others, just being overwhelmed by all the studies and the procrastination which comes in, the competition, all the difficulties of access, which were there earlier. Now it's come down, of course. But then, even then, along with that, there is the whole fear of the future. A lot of kids want to quit. They keep saying, I want to change my course, or I don't want to study. They want to drop out of 11th and 12th. We've had a whole spate of students going through this over the last couple of years. And then that is always accompanied by medical problems. So headache, digestive problems, all these sort of things which accompany. Sleep cycle alterations are common. And along with that, because you are sort of reacting, they often go into social media addictions and all the rest of it. Okay, so I've highlighted in red all the problems that are probably facing students right now, just before the exams. But basically, what is the story? The basic story is that there is a lot of anxiety, right? So there is this acute kind of phase of an anxiety, and there is the chronic phase of anxiety. So both of them can be seen. Now, you must remember that anxiety is actually an adaptive pattern, which is meant to help people. It's meant to help the organism to increase its chance of survival. And that any change in the environment is called a stress, and the organism wants to deal with those stressors, and therefore there is this anxiety reaction which is mediated via the amygdala. It's mediated via the limbic system. There are different parts of the limbic system. This is the limbic system, and this is the anxiety system. Okay, so it sends all these hormones into the bloodstream, and that provokes this anxiety response. The whole idea of which is to run away, okay? To run away from the tiger, to run away from whatever is threatening its life. So this is a good thing if you are facing a tiger, all right? But suppose you have the same kind of reaction. You can see the girl with her eyes wide open and she's sweating and her mouth is open. Probably she was trying to draw in a deep breath in order to run away from the tiger. But suppose you have the same reaction if you're facing a mouse. Now, that is not an adaptive reaction. That is, in fact, a maladaptive reaction. All right. Now, we needed to think what is actually the equivalent of a tiger and what is the equivalent of a mouse. So I would ask students earlier that, what do you think? What is COVID? Is COVID a tiger or a mouse? Anybody has any answers to that? Put it in the chat box. Was COVID a tiger or a mouse? Did you have to have a reaction of fear, anxiety, running away, imminent death threat? What do you think? Someone says it's a tiger, no, tiger. All right. Well, that's a good, it makes you think, doesn't it? Actually, COVID was a mouse for most people, particularly young people, but for people with pre-existing morbidities such as diabetes or stroke or obesity and lung problems, for those people it could be a tiger. For older people, for those who had poor immune reactions, for those people it was a tiger. But otherwise it was a mouse. It wasn't actually something to be that afraid of. Okay, next question. What about exams? Are they a tiger or a mouse? Does it pose an imminent death threat? Reactions in the chat, please.
I guess if you're well prepared, then it's mouse. And if you're not prepared well, so it's going to be tiger.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, it seems like a tiger, doesn't it? It seems as if our life will end. It seems as if our whole existence is in threat. But actually, it is just a mouse. We have to understand that having a severe anxiety reaction to exams is actually a maladaptive anxiety response, because there is no imminent threat to your life. There is no need for you to have your heartbeat getting faster. There's no need for you to sweat. There's no need for you to be up late at night. Satish, please bring the charger. This charger. We have to run. Sorry. Did yours fit? Okay. I changed my place, so my charger is on that side. Sorry, people, one thing after another today. All right. Yeah. Okay. So so the point was that we react, sometimes students react to exams as if it is a tiger, but let's remember that it's not actually, and that is a maladaptive response. We should always remember that. Okay, now
That's why.
right. Okay. Okay, then talking about chronic stress. Okay, this was acute stress. When the stress is prolonged over many months, adults as well as students can have this kind of a more chronic anxiety response. This leads to physical changes, like this is supposed to be a BP apparatus, by the way. Okay, so blood pressure can rise. You can have prolonged signs of stress. You can have insomnia. You can have different kinds of gastric problems. So all these kind of things are a chronic stress reaction. And some students, believe me, have this as well. And all this is mediated via the different parts of the brain. Okay, now what you need to remember here is that the thinking brain, okay, what I've labeled the thinking brain, it exercises a control over the emotional brain. And that control is a sort of inhibitory control. It is able to control the emotional reaction, the instinctive emotional reaction of the person. All right. Now, this control increases with age, but sometimes it can be a little low in young people, which is why sometimes young people find it difficult to deal with this anxiety. But this is just a way for you to understand that the medial prefrontal cortex of the brain, okay, the thinking part of the brain, it can exercise an inhibitory control over the emotional state, which is why therapy helps. This is how, when you correct your thoughts, you correct your thinking, you're able to deal with the anxiety better. And we'll come to that a little later. All right. Now let's look at stress from another angle. And this is the picture of the those blind men who are looking at the elephant, and one of them said it's a rope, one said it's a fan, one said it's a snake, right? When they looked at it from different angles. So we are going to be like the blind men, and we're going to look at stress now from another angle, okay? Now you look at it like a weighing machine. So on one side, you have all your stress factors. That's on the left side here, okay? These are your stress factors. And on the other side, you have what we will call your coping resources. So on this side, on the side of the stress, there is the external factor, which is here the exams. And then you have an internal expectation of what is going to happen. So this is also a very significant part. There's an external part, the exam, and then there is an internal response to the exam. All right, it's like facing the tiger or the mouse, the same sort of thing, but we're looking at it slightly differently. On the other side are your coping resources, your state of knowledge, how much you've studied, perhaps your skills, okay, the way that you can maybe do a dissection, you can do the chemistry lab experiment, whatever it is. Resources, all your books, your tuition classes, maybe all these different kinds of resources. Controlling agency, do you have the ability to control how much you studied? You have the ability to control different aspects of your environment as you study. What about your support systems, your family? Are they supportive, or are they, demanding or disappointed in you? That sort of thing. How is the coping factor in your family? Faith, past experiences, all these are on the other side, okay, of the balance. Now, remember that this balance may not necessarily, so it goes up and down depending on how you perceive it. So this is another picture to show the same thing. Here you can see the person. This is supposed to be a person, by the way. And these are the glasses through which the person is looking at, one, the external factors, and on the other side, the internal factors. And then this person is coming to an appraisal. Okay? The appraisal is, can I deal with this problem? Do I have enough resources to deal with this problem? If they feel the coping is adequate, they feel that, okay, I can handle this problem, then you are cool. You are in a state of eustress. If you are overwhelmed by the problem and feel you can't cope, that's when you go into a state of distress. And you have all these different signs of distress: physical, emotional, thinking, behavioral, spiritual. Okay, right? So to repeat that, you're looking at the exams. If you expect to cope well, you're in a state of eustress. If you look at the exams and you expect to not cope well, you're in a state of distress. And then you're in a state of distress. This is the symptoms that you can show emotional symptoms, that is anxiety, fear, frustration, anger. You can show thoughts which are anxious, negative, Sometimes you displace the anger onto others. Some of them regress. They want everything done for them. Sometimes they just want to, quit. They just don't want to be in the hostel. They want to go home. All sorts of things can happen. And spiritually too, they can be this state of, distress. Okay. So this is just a picture to show you the same thing. Okay. The external factors are like a storm beating at a house. You can see the storm clouds have gathered and the house is just all alone on that desert kind of place, and the storm is brewing outside. But what is important is not just the storm, it's also your internal response to the storm. And you can see here that these two children are scared of the storm, isn't it? There's this fear of the storm. There is a lot of anxiety. There is a negative thinking. They are worrying about what will happen. And this is a picture of the internal factors which happen to students during exams. All right. Now, what are these various external and internal factors? Suppose there are, let's look at something else. I don't have time. I'll go a little quickly. Suppose you're facing a tiger. What is the thing you think about? You think that nothing should happen to me, right? If it was COVID, what was our fear? Nobody should die. We should be fine. If there are, say, meeting new people, if that is the external factor, what is the thought that you have? That I should quickly make friends with these new people. These are the sort of internal thinking which is there in any external problem. Now, during exams, students show a range of internal thinking. And I've pointed some of them out here. You may think, I am so scared that I won't do well. You may think, I hate all this, but I have to somehow mug up this stuff and do well. You may think, I want to get more than my roommate. You may think, I should do better than others in this. You may think, I have to get into that college. I need to get good marks. Okay. You may think, I have been good, not like that other person who was fooling around playing video games. Therefore, I deserve to get good marks, right? My parents should be proud of me. Suppose I don't do well and can never get a good job. So all sorts of internal thoughts are there, which are affecting you students. Okay. And this is the thing. What can you change? Can you change your exam? Can you change the fact that you have to pass, that you have these 5 or 6 papers that you have to give? Or can you change the internal factors, your expectations and attitudes to the exam? And the answer is obvious, right? You can't change the external, but you can change the internal. And that's what we're going to spend some time on thinking. How do you correct this thinking? And you'd notice that out of the things that I mentioned here, many of these thoughts are very unrealistic, isn't it? How can we think, for instance, that I should do well, I should get top rank in the college, or I should somehow do well if I have not put in adequate time in studying? So my expectations need to be realistic. I should know my own level. I should know how much I have studied. I should know my intelligence level. I should know how much I can expect, isn't it? So my expectations should be realistic. I should not compare with others. A lot of the time, it is about doing better than so-and-so. I should get, so-and-so marks in class. I should get into this good college. I'm aiming for this. I should get this other, So there's this whole thing about competition and rivalry and comparison with others, which has to end. Okay. Sometimes there is this whole thing about fighting to get ahead and stay ahead, because the whole issue is competition. There's rivalry, right? And this sort of thinking can be very stressful, because other students become your rivals and enemies. This is something which you will have to change if you want to be calmer. You have to address the fear of the future. And how do you address it? By knowing that God loves you and has a plan for you. You don't have to worry about where I'm going to go, which college I'm going to get into, which class I'm going to get into. If you are sure that, look, I know that God loves me. I know that he has a plan for me. I don't have to panic. Okay. There has to be a correct attitude to study. One of those things which I mentioned earlier was, the students think, oh, this is all pointless stuff. I hate all this stuff, but somehow I have to mug it and get through, isn't it? Or I'll just study these 5 questions because these are the important questions which will come, and I hope I will get through. But that is not the correct attitude to study, right? You're not actually learning the subject. You're not understanding or appreciating what you're learning. And so it seems a pointless waste of your time, isn't it, if that is your attitude to study. Another mentality which you need to change is, I want or deserve the best. So I want to get into this good college. I want to go abroad to study. I don't care. My parents should support me no matter what I choose. I should be able to study this college, do this course, whatever it is, whether it's out of my budget or beyond what my parents can think, whatever. I deserve the best. And that mentality can also lead you into a lot of stress and trouble. So internal and external factors, this is how you have to handle it. Also on the other side, remember the coping resources, your knowledge, your skills, your faith, your support systems, all of these things you have to work on. You cannot expect to do well in your exam if you don't study, right? You have to improve your knowledge base. You have to increase your skills. You need support systems of your friends, your teachers, your family. You need this faith to know that God is with you. He loves you. He's not going to cast you aside. He has a plan for you. You don't have to panic, okay? That all others are all my friends, not my enemies. All this comes when you build your faith, all right? And remember your past experience, that God has been with you, God has been with your family, okay? Hopefully your past experience will also help you, that you can handle this stress well. Okay, having said all that, sometimes you might need to learn abdominal breathing and relaxation exercise can also help you in handling stress. In severe cases, we do give certain medicines which can help, okay? In the short term, again, visualization exercises, breathing exercises, all these things can help you. And if you need to, you please go and meet a psychologist or a psychiatrist and they'll help you to deal with this. If severe, sometimes we also give medicines. But again, correcting the thinking, understanding what is happening, that I am responding as if this is a tiger, whereas actually it is not, okay? And exerting your upper brain control on your emotional response by changing your thinking, by incorporating your faith and making it a reality in your life, okay? These are all the things which will help you also improve your knowledge and skills, and all these things will help you to handle your stress. Okay, and then I like this picture because it shows the rain and the storm, and the building is standing strong, isn't it? It's a very peaceful picture that though the storm and the rain is quite heavy, the building is standing quite well. Also, I need stress is very severe or it's persisting. If it's involving all areas of your life, if it has sort of made you feel that life is not worth living, or you have started harming yourself or getting violent with anybody, if this anxiety has been there in the past, or if someone else in your family has had this kind of anxiety, please get professional help. Okay, so this is what I wanted to say as well. Now, all these things which I have said, they will be relevant both to the parents as well as to the students. Okay, parents also need to remember this, that don't encourage competition, rivalry, unrealistic expectations, or you deserve the best mentality, okay? Or this whole thing of getting ahead, there's so much competition, otherwise your life is not worth living. If you don't get into this kind of college, your life is over. Don't encourage all this kind of thinking, okay? So correcting the thinking of both the parents and the students, I think both is very important if we want our students to get through this exam time with a good, healthy attitude, that I will study in order to do my best to learn the subject and to get into the place which God has already prepared for me. God has a plan for me. He loves me. He's going to help me to find where I can serve best. And that is the whole point of your studying in your exams. Okay, so we'll stop here and I'll leave the time open for questions. Sorry again about the little confusion over the the video and all that.
Yes.
So any questions?
Yeah, so if we can stop the screen sharing, would be good.
Yes.
So,
I will do that in a minute. Just a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, Alishina, you can invite people to share the question.
Yeah.
We can have the Q&A session now, where
Yes.
we can ask questions to ma'am. Please post your questions in the chat, or you can unmute and ask. You can message ma'am privately too, where it will be considered anonymous.
Today I'll sit that side, okay?
Yeah.
We can post our questions in the
Please
chat.
post your questions on chat, or you could raise your hand using the Zoom reactions. Yeah, you are also free to anonymously ask your question by sending it on direct chat to Dr. Jamila. Go ahead.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, so basically I have exam tomorrow.
Yeah.
Is it okay for me to study till in the morning and then go up, or should I just stop it right here and then?
Well, you need a good night's sleep before you study. So try not to cut down your sleep to less than 5 to 6 hours. Okay, because if you sleep less than that, it's quite likely that your brain will not work very well. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so make sure that you are sleeping at least 5 to 6 hours. That is important. Beyond
Yeah.
that, it's up to each person how they want to study. You know, if you want to study till 11, if you want to get up in the morning and study, whichever way is fine.
And what are your opinions about right before going to the examination hall, reading and discussing about the stuff?
See, if you want to, you can, but you don't need to work yourself up. No, see, I would think that if you want to revise something important, you can do that. There's no problem with that. But if you are finding that you get worked up and you do that, or if you see other people doing that and you realize, oh, I don't know anything, they all know more than me, and all that sort of thing, that is, if you find that you get stressed by it, then don't do it.
Yeah. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Yeah, so it's up to you. You just have to understand yourself and play it out like that.
Okay. Anyone else? You can unmute and ask them.
I'm unable to concentrate in studies, very much get distracted always. I'm in
Ma'am,
class.
would you explain external
Okay.
factors?
Yeah, please hold on for a moment.
Okay,
Let
1
Dr.
minute. I have a few
Yes,
questions.
sir.
I'll just answer them. What if we are on anti-anxiety drugs like clobazam? Well, if you are all have been given medicines, that's fine, but it's always given for a short duration. Please don't take it for longer than it has been given. Mostly it's given for just a few weeks. If you need longer than that, then you please go back to the doctor and they will change the medicine. I'm unable to concentrate in studies, very much get distracted. I am in class 3. Okay, class 3 must be class 8, I think.
Yeah,
Okay,
must be a mistake.
must be a mistake. So if you're not able to concentrate in class, you try different methods to make yourself concentrate. Perhaps you could write notes. If you find that you have zoned out, leave a gap and get back. Just start again wherever you catch up and ask your friends to help you to fill in the gaps. So you need to make a practice of doing this. And if you need to zone out during a little bit of time. Give yourself 2 minutes to just take a quick, zoning out time, and then come back onto the concentration. Okay, so you have to try various tricks to help yourself keep awake and concentrate in class. Children may say they are stressed to be left alone by parents and be allowed entertainment. How do parents make out if a child uncomfortable whom is really stressed as they claim or not? Well, the thing is that most children these days do get quite stressed. Okay, so that is, if they are saying that they are stressed, then I think you can take them at face value that they are having some problem. But then that being stressed doesn't mean they should be allowed entertainment. I don't understand how that connects. Though you can sort of figure out with the child that, see, the important thing is to correct their attitudes. No, why are you stressed? And there's no need to be stressed in school. School is not a death threat. That's exactly what I'm trying to point out. No, that if we look at school as somewhere where you have to face a tiger, then obviously it's going to be stressful. No, whereas if we lower the expectation that school is a place where we just mix with friends, where we are learning some skills which will help us in life, where we are learning some subjects which are important. These are happy, good subjects. It's nice to learn these things. So our whole attitude to study has to change. If the child is feeling stressed, then you need to think what are the thought patterns which you or the school or the teachers have taught the child, which is causing them to be stressed. So work on that, and that may help you. What about a mother who is stressed because her child is just not bothered about exams and study is so little? Okay, so, well, here I said, no, it's the parent who's stressed, and then you have to think about what the parent is thinking. Again, the parent is probably thinking something along the lines of, if my child doesn't study, the child's life is over. If my child doesn't get into a good college, the child will not have any good future in life. What will happen about the future? So the parent here is also worrying a lot. Okay, and your worries are also probably unrealistic, exaggerated, have the same content which I talked about. Okay, so it's important for parents to also realize that studies is not about the child getting good exams or getting good marks in the exams or whatever. You try to make, your job is to try and make the studies interesting to the child. Okay, so if you're talking about history, make it into a thing which you are happy to talk about. No, take them to see some various monuments and buildings, discuss history with them. If it's about physics, then help them with some experiments, get them some nice books, or some 3D material or whatever. You have so many videos and all these days which make it all so interesting. So find ways to make the subject interesting for your child. And that's the point. The point is not about exams. The point is that they should have the right attitude to study, in which case they will do as well as their potential is. And remember, all children may not have the potential also to become engineers or whatever, right? So we have to be realistic in our understanding of our children. Okay, next question. I am an overthinker. I always think a lot for very little things. I want to get rid of this problem. Okay, well, again, if your thought pattern is filled with anxious worry about the future, then as a start, write it down in a diary so that you are able to document what you are thinking, and then ask someone else to have a look at it and give their opinion of what you are thinking. So if a wise person, a pastor or somebody older, might be able to tell you that, look, these thoughts of yours are exaggerated, unrealistic, or predominantly worried about the future, whatever it is. They'll give you a feedback, and then you need to correct that thinking. That might be what you need to do. Okay, sometimes a day before the exam, I'm left with my syllabus, so I get panicked. So shall I do the leftover portion or do master in whatever I have studied? Well, the thing here is that you left it too late. So you have to learn from this experience that you should not leave your studies to the last minute. Because if you do that, then you are setting yourself up for a lot of anxiety and possible failure also, isn't it? Because realistically, if you have not studied, you do not have the knowledge base to pass in that subject. So it makes sense to take this as a warning for next time, that you need to study at least half an hour a day. Actually, for school and college, if you study half to 1 hour a day regularly, that is actually quite enough to at least make you pass. Then after that, towards the end of the time, you can always put in more hours in order to do better. But all that I'm saying is you shouldn't be in a situation like this. In the last day, it's very unlikely that you will be able to cover the leftover portion completely, unless it was just one chapter, right? It's very unlikely that you can learn new material just before the exam. So you're setting yourself up for a problem here. Okay, so I hope that you will learn from this not to do this in future. Whichever way you do it, it may not help you. So you can choose whichever way, whether you want to do the leftover portion or revise the one that you already have studied. So the boy in class 3 has said, again, I'm in class 3 only. I tried every method, also counseling, but my getting distracted has become a big issue. Now my finals are going on. Okay, in class 3, if you are having these problems, I must say that your grasp of English and writing is very good. So I think you have a lot of skills and talents. So don't worry too much about it. Try and figure out what you can do better, and perhaps consult someone properly. Ask your parents to take you to someone properly, and they will be able to help you. All right. Okay. Any other questions? I think I've answered all the questions in the chat box, Abhijit.
I think Muni Raj had a question. Please go ahead. Munia Raj. Unmute and ask, please.
Would you, sir, explain
Yeah.
external factors, ma'am?
See, the
Not
the external factors are just in any stress situation, there is an external factor. So in this case, external factor is the exam, right? The exam is the stress factor which is coming into your life. You have to deal with that. Then there are internal factors to every external factor, and the internal factors are your expectations, your attitudes to the stress, and that is what is going to affect the whole. It's going to make a big change, right? So suppose you have the stress factor of a deadline to meet. Okay, you have to submit a project, or you have to finish some task, finish something to do in the office or in college or whatever. So that is the external factor. Now, the internal thinking may be, oh, I have to do this. I haven't finished. What will happen if I don't finish? I should get an A plus in this. How will I get an A plus in this? Can I do some shortcut? So these are the internal thinking. You get it? That is the difference between external and internal stress factors. I hope that's clear.
okay. Yes.
We can't change the external, but we can change our internal attitudes and thinking and response to the stress factor, whether it's exams or anything else. And that can make a big difference. Can you please share some coping skills to manage exam anxiety? Okay, as I said, the first thing to do about handling exam anxiety is to get your thought, to correct your thoughts. What is the anxiety? What is the content of your anxiety? So there are various thoughts which I mentioned. No, the anxiety may be, what will happen to me in future? Will I get into a good college? Will I let my parents down? Will my classmate do better than me, and will my parents compare with my classmate? I should do better than my neighbor, or I should get better marks than my cousin got last year, or I should be able to go into a good school or college or whatever it is. There's some anxiety content. Okay, now you need to examine that content. Most of the time, the content is either unrealistic, or it's exaggerated, or it reveals some faulty thinking. Okay, so for instance, if you think that I should top the class, now that is something which is not in your hands. No? So to go on saying I should top the class, it's a cognitive distortion. There's no point in thinking that. That is an unrealistic thought. All that is in your control is to do as well as you can, to study your subject as well as you can. That's the only thing within your control. So when you are dealing with the anxiety, deal with the thought and correct the thought. Now, as Christians, we have a huge resource in our faith, isn't it? So we know that God is on our side. We know that God loves us. We know that God has a plan for each one of us. We know that God wants us to serve others, that all that we do is to serve others. It's not about ourselves, right? So we have to correct all the wrong thinking and commit those things to God. No, that is one way to deal with it. If you are able to deal with that, okay, no matter what I do, I am doing my best here, and God will take care of which college I go to. God will take care of where I'm going to work. I will do my best. All that He asks from me is for me to do my best, and He will take care of the rest. Now that thinking you must develop, because that is the best way to counteract anxiety as Christians. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Along with that, if you're feeling really panicky, there are methods of deep breathing, relaxation, and all that, which can be taught to you. Obviously, I can't teach it here, but if you go to any psychologist or psychiatrist, they'll be able to teach it to you. Okay, there are a few more questions here. Let me see. After putting a lot of effort on studies, still I get minimum marks. I don't understand where the problem lies, and there's a pressure from parents and career, like a threat, as if I don't have good enough grades, you're not eligible enough to have a job. Please suggest. Okay. Okay, now see, the thing is that everybody has a particular talent and skill and intelligence level. So some people are very good at certain subjects and some people are not. For instance, some people are really good at maths. Some people are really good at physics. Some people are really good at English. Some people are really good at Sanskrit. So everybody has a certain, certain tendency to do well in a certain subject, or maybe they have the skills, the training, the opportunities, different factors which may have influenced that. So I don't know what it is in your life why you are not able to perform as well as you can. But the point still is that as Christians, our confidence is this, that there is a place for all of us, that God loves each one of us. And God has said clearly, you just read Jeremiah 29:11, where he's talking to the people of Israel. He tells them that I know the plans I have for you, right? He says the plans are to prosper you, to give you a future and a hope. So I remember reading this verse, somebody giving this verse to me when I was a young person, and taking great comfort in that. That look, God is on my side, and God knows the plans He has for us. He knows me inside out. He will take care of me. I have to just do my best, and He will figure out a way. He will help me to find the way in which I should go. Okay, once you do that, now your career may not be, don't compare with others, that I should get into the same college which somebody else got into. I should do as well as my cousin, or I should do as well in inverted commas. Okay, it's all just comparative. I should do like so and so, or like so. Forget all that. There is a place for you. And what does God say? He tells us to pray for our daily bread. No, actually, what is praying for our daily bread? It's actually praying that Lord, help me to be able to get a job. No, because daily bread is not going to fall like manna from heaven, right? When we pray for Lord, give us this day our daily bread, what we are meaning in normal language is, please Lord, help me to get a job, help me to be able to support my family, help me to be able to support myself. And I know that this all comes from you, and I'm trusting you that you will take care of this part of my life. Now, you don't have to look whether somebody else is getting more daily bread than you are. That's not the point. You trust God. You do what you can, and God will take care of the rest. That's what He promises us. I hope that helps you. Okay, any more questions?
Yeah. There could be some friends from other faith also. So you could answer. Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Any comment on parents' tendency to bring a sudden cut in child's activities, social activities like going out or disconnecting the cable and all of that, taking mobile?
Yeah. Thank you, Abhijit. Thank you. That was also something I wanted to say, which I probably left out. Yeah, I said, no, sometimes parents also need to realize that they should not be anxious about their children's exams either. We need to accept that our children are God's before they are ours. Okay, and this applies to people from all faiths. Everybody can have this confidence that God loves our children, and I don't have to worry about them to the extent that I restrict them and badger them or nag them or feel that I have to police them in order for them to study. That's not the point. That's not how studies should happen. Studies should happen because the child loves studying. Your job is to make the child love study, because this is all, studies are what? They're an exploration of all our knowledge about the world, isn't it? About God's world, about history, about geography, so your job is to make all this interesting to your children. When you do that, they will automatically want to study, and then give them the confidence that, look, don't be afraid. You have a great future ahead of you, and we hope that if you have the faith, that God will take you to the right place. So if you have that kind of confidence yourself, you will be able to tell the children that, okay, you study so many hours, and then after that we will go out and go out for a walk. You don't have, normally speaking, as I said, studying up to 1 hour a day, if you study regularly, then there should be no need to panic just before the exams. Just before the exams, you may need to study a little more, obviously, but regular study of 1 hour a day is much better than otherwise. Now, it's your job to just train the children into this when they are very young itself. That's our job, to just try and help them to see that, okay, this is study time. Let's sit and study. And it's for fun. It's not a punishment. It's not something to beat the child into. And then after doing that, please allow them to have recreation. Please allow them to meet their friends. Do everything. Even in 11th and 12th, the children should be allowed to have, in my opinion, children should be allowed to have extracurriculars and other things, because otherwise they will turn into very one-sided people. They won't be multi-dimensional people with a lot of interests, people who are happy and able to do many things. They will probably lose out on many things. So sometimes it is our worry that drives us. So parents also need to examine their own worries. Am I worrying? If that is so, I need to deal with it. Okay. Any other questions? I think there's one here. I get diverted from my spiritual life as well as my future goals. I am really unable to find the sole reason, and also get confused for everything. Even to make a decision is like a big task for me. Okay. Yeah, you probably need to get your thoughts a little clearer. Okay, I'm also not very clear as to what the problem is. It seems that everything is a big stress and tension for you. Okay, get confused about everything. So maybe you just need to simplify your thoughts, simplify your life. Figure out what. Don't have too many goals. Maybe see, our spiritual goals and future goals are not separate. They're all the same. We are headed in one direction. That's all. So simplify your life, simplify your goals, don't have too many, and let's see if that helps. If I don't police, they will definitely cheat. This is another parent, I think. They don't care even if they fail. My daughter got 91% in class 10, and when I started believing she can do, she got 31%, 32%, and 34%. Okay, I'm sorry that you're going through this, but I feel that there is probably something going on in your daughter's life which you need to be concerned about. If she, it's also true that 10th standard is probably quite easy, and 11th and 12th, the difficulty level increases exponentially. So many children struggle in their 11th and 12th. That's a fact. So, but then policing is not the way to do it. You probably need to rather communicate with your child and ask them what is happening. Ask her what is troubling you. How can I help you? What is it that is bothering you? So find ways to communicate with your child. They don't care if they fail is probably just the front that they're putting up, because I don't think any child is going to be, who has got 90 in their 10th, is going to be very happy if they don't get good marks later, because it's a, whatever it is, it bucks them up, no? They would have liked the praise and admiration they got for getting 90% in 10th. So something is bothering your daughter. I hope you are able to figure out what it is and work with her, communicate with her, and be able to sort it out. All the best as you do that. Yeah, in class 11, you're worried about her. I understand that you're worried, and I can understand that you're wondering what's going on. Yes, something is probably going on with her. So spend time trying to communicate with her and make it clear to her that your love for her will not change, that even if she doesn't do well, that's fine. If she wants to change her stream, that's fine. A lot of children struggle with the maths and science in 11th and 12th. If they don't want to do it, don't force them into it, and figure out, even if you lose a year, that's okay. It's better than the child struggling and everybody getting angry and upset and somehow having a hell on earth for 11th and 12th. There's no need to do that. So work it out, and if you really need help, go for some counseling as well. Okay, anyone else?
Is there a question? I'm a slow learner. How can I improve my skills?
Okay, right. See, as I said, I believe that there is place for everybody, and there is a space for everyone to improve their potential and their skills. Even slow learners have a lot of skills. There's no rule that you will not learn, that you'll take your own time in developing your skills. So find out what it is that interests you. Find out what it is that you would like to do, and try and get extra tuition in that. Try and get extra learning material in that. Try to spend a little extra hours in that. So there are methods for learning this. I can't tell you all the details here, but you can get help to do this. Okay, but please go and do it. But most importantly, accept yourself the way you are and be confident that I also have a place in the world. Okay, I can also do a lot. That thinking is very important. Once you have that thinking in place, you can do anything. Okay, you can do what you want.
Yeah. Uh, uh, Sorry to ask you, not know if you touched upon it. I was busy coordinating the meeting. Like the words parents say have a huge effect on kids' confidence. So, what are some of the statements parents, knowing or unknowingly, say that could actually put pressure on their kids, as opposed to statements which are actually they should say to reassure their kids? So,
Yes. Okay, Abhijit, thank you. I can answer that. Yes, parents do say a lot of things to their kids. And again, it's a symptom of their own worry and anxiety, because they sometimes feel that if the child doesn't do well in their board exams or whatever, they won't get into good uh, colleges, that they won't get a good career and things like that. So they're quite likely to say things like, you're a failure, you're a, you are no use, I'm disappointed in you, or uh, what did I do to be cursed with a child like you? People sometimes lose
yeah.
control when they talk to their children.
And the comparison with their cousin, brother, or
Yeah, comparing with others, all this is very common. So I talked about all this, that all these things can happen. And yes, it is very important for parents to recognize that this is not right. Okay, parents need to respect their children and speak respectfully to them. There's no place also for hitting children or being abusive to children in order to make them study. I think that is actually just abuse. You can't do that. uh, if at all there is some place for physical discipline, it's only when the child is being very disobedient when they're very young. As the child gets older, you should not be using physical means of discipline. You should be using only things like, expecting them to say sorry, or removing some privilege, or maybe asking them to make an apology, expressing your displeasure. These are the ways in which to correct the child. Say that, look, I'm sorry, this should not have happened. I'm really unhappy about it. What can you do to make this better? What will you do? Talking to them like that is what they need, rather than saying you're a disappointment, you're a failure. So be careful how we talk. That's very
yeah.
important. And don't compare with others. Don't use disrespectful or negative terms. If you have, apologize to the child. Say that, look, I'm sorry, I said these things in anger, and I will never say it again. Okay, so make sure you
Yeah.
do that. It's okay. Sometimes we make mistakes.
And what are the words of assurance or words that are positive that can instill confidence in a kid to do well without pressure?
Yeah, I said,
Yeah.
I touched on that. I said that the
Okay.
parent should be assuring the child that, look, don't worry. There is a place for you. There, God will take care of you. You just do your best. We are happy and we love you anyway. Whatever you
Right,
do,
right.
our love for you is not going to change. Whether you do well or you do badly, our love for you is not going to change. It's not conditional on how many marks you get. So
Yeah.
if you do well, it's good for you. But
Yeah.
each person has their level, and that's fine. Do as well as you can, and let's trust that God will show you where you should go. So this attitude is probably the best to have.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah. There's a question how to overcome anxiety. I think you've touched on that as well.
How to overcome anxiety? Yeah, we touched on that already.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So please go ahead and see the video, which is on NMBF Coffee Chat's YouTube channel. So you will get it in case you missed that part. Yeah, yeah. Are there any
One more question.
questions?
There's
Please
one more
unmute and
question
ask.
on this, on the chat. I have my final exams after 15 days, but I don't have any seriousness in my studies. What to do with this situation? It's in
Okay,
the
I
chat.
have my final exams in 15 days, and then
But I don't have any seriousness in my studies. What to do in this situation?
okay. Well, if you have your final exams in 15 days and you have covered all your portions, then you have if you have done it so many times that you are quite confident that you know it inside out, then there is a space for not doing studying anymore. But otherwise, not being serious I don't understand why you're not serious. It may be that you are worried. Sometimes our worry can be expressed by pretending that that thing is not there. No. So we are worried about the exams, so we pretend that we are not worried about the exams. We just do other things. We ignore the exams. We hope that it will go away. It's like, I hope this example doesn't, its example is just to make you laugh, okay? Sometimes it's like an ostrich, if there is danger, the ostrich puts its head in the sand rather than facing the danger. So sometimes all of us can be like that. And we need to just laugh at ourselves a little bit and say, okay, it's time to take my head out of the sand and become aware that I have exams in 2 weeks. I need to cover my portions. So I would suggest you make a rough timetable for yourself, okay, where you check what all you have to study and give yourself 1 day or 2 days for each subject. Go quickly over it, go over all the headings, make notes quickly, okay? Revise your notes if you have them. And these are all the methods that you need to do to revise your subjects. So I would suggest that it's time for you to take your head out of the sand, because you do have exams coming up, and it is your duty as a student to give your best for the exam. All right. When you give your best, then you have the right or the ability to say that I've done my best. I'm glad. I'm happy. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
There's a question that has come privately.
Can you read it out?
Yeah, I have diabetes and memory power is low and decreases. So what do I do? I have diabetes. I do not know what the age is, but this is what the person said.
You have diabetes and memory loss. Well, diabetes should not lead to memory loss necessarily. I hope the diabetes is under good control. Please ensure that you are taking your medicines as told by the doctor, and also controlling your diet. I know that it's a bit of a poke, but once you do it, you'll be able to control your blood sugar, and that should be fine. There should not be any memory loss associated with that. Okay, so I think if you are feeling any memory loss, it may be a result of just the anxiety that you're feeling. So aid your memory by using other memory cues, which means that you read out the thing that you want to learn, or you make notes. So when you have different cues coming, hearing cues, writing, reading, when all these things come together, then that helps our memory. So try to do it like that. Okay. Sometimes it helps also if you ask yourself questions. You read a page and then you just ask yourself, what did this page say? What were the main points in this page? So you're asking yourself a question. When you ask yourself a question, you have to answer that question. That okay, this was what I read, and that will help you to be able to study. All right. So there's a comment here. You mean correct advice to children in proper time is not good? No, I don't mean that. Please, by all means, we need to advise children, but then you need to be sure that it's not accompanied by any negative connotations. Okay, let the advice be in a good, positive spirit, rather than us putting down the child or saying things like your future will be bad, and sort of scaring the child into a negative kind of frame of mind, which is not conducive to anything except anxiety, right? We need to sort of help the child to have a positive attitude to studies, and that will come only when we have that positive attitude as well. I think that is what I was trying to say. I didn't intend anything.
Right. I think we're about to close in a few minutes, so please hurry up. If you have anything to ask, you're free to send your questions privately to Dr. Jamila on the chat. You could send it to me or Alishan also, and we'll consider those questions anonymous. There's a question in the chat. I can't study in group. It needs an isolated environment. I need an isolated environment for effective study, but as I live in a chamber, here's also where there are other students, and I am unable to concentrate. So how can I study effectively?
Well, yeah, I can understand that some children can't study in a group. So if you need an isolated environment, it's not something which everybody can get. So perhaps all you can do is put a set of headphones on, or else use study hours when the other children are sleeping. Some people do that. So they study either late in the night or early morning when the other children have not gotten up. So you could try these things. That helps you. And sometimes just listening to putting on some light music may allow you to cut out the other sounds. That may be something that you could do. All right. Monica has, okay, someone else has said that I can't remember anything even after listening to the teacher in the class. Help me in this. Well, I think the important thing here then would be to write notes, all right, so that you can write notes. You remember things better if you read, see, if you know what the teacher is going to take in class, if you can spend even 5 minutes reading it before the class, and then after the class is over, just quickly run through your notes again in 5 minutes, just scan them up and down, just read it quickly through after the class is over. And then at night, once when you go home, read it once again in 5 minutes. And then if you read it again after a week or 2 weeks, then you're bound to remember. So the more often you do something closer to the onset of it, like if the teacher has spoken in class now, if I revise it immediately after the class and then the same day, you're likely to remember it because the memory cue is then very strong. If you read it after 1 month, obviously you're not going to remember anything. That memory has not imprinted in your brain. Okay? Yes, Mary has said, sit in the library if allowed. Yes, that's a good point, Mary. I had attended our office seminar where the psychologist mentioned we need to have high warmth level to our kids and high expectations from them. So what is your opinion on that? Yes, high warmth level obviously is very good. That is something which we have been talking about. High expectations from them. So this depends. I would rather say that we need to have realistic expectations of them. Okay, so high expectations. What does that mean? No, the expectations should be linked to each child. Some children are not, as bright as others. They may not be able to get into IIT or whatever your high expectation is, but they may be good at other things. So have realistic expectations and keep encouraging them to do as well as they can. I would suggest that little caveat, if you put in, then the expectations, I agree with you.
Yeah. Jamila, one of the questions that came just a while back about some kids not feeling motivated even in the exams when the exams come close. So I'd come across a similar case in which the youngster was not was actually careless and wasn't studying because he felt his father doesn't believe in him. His father would put him down regularly in front of people. So that affects the child's confidence and motivation levels also. Can you comment on that?
Yes. See, I said no, that sometimes one of the anxieties that children have is that I will disappoint my parents. Okay, so that can be one of the causes. So that's what I had mentioned.
Yeah.
See, the expectations of parents can itself be a source of anxiety for the children. And sometimes children respond to anxiety by not doing what is there, like you're hiding your head in the sand like an ostrich. If the exams are coming, because you're afraid that you won't do well, you don't even try. Sometimes that also happens.
Right.
Okay? So it's very important for those kids to understand that this is happening. They can only understand if they are old enough to understand that. Unfortunately, many children are not able to understand that. So which is why it's very important for parents to understand that their expectations and their words can have a very serious effect on the children. So parents need to be very careful of what they tell their children or the way they react to exams and all that. Don't overdo the important exams. Okay,
and youngsters, sorry, finish what you're saying.
No, I was saying the important thing is that parents should, encourage the children to have a right attitude to study. That's the only thing we have to do. To teach the children that studying is good, studying is fun, it's interesting to learn things. Once the child gets that into their head, then your task is done. You don't need to do anything further. The child will themselves want to learn. They will take it as their responsibility to learn. So our task is to stop it becoming our responsibility. It's the child's responsibility. In order to make it the child's responsibility, you have to make it fun for them. You have to show them how interesting it is.
To what extent does a particular friend circle affect a kid's attitude towards exams or life in seriousness? And what can the parents do about it if they feel that the friend circle is not good?
All right, good question. See, the thing is that I think that the job of parents is often to form the counter voice to many other voices, because all the voices around us are teaching the children all wrong narratives. Okay, so the world keeps saying, for instance, nowadays all the schools put tremendous pressure on the children. The whole thing is in getting ahead, staying ahead, coming in the 90th percentile. So it's all about competition and rivalry and coming in the top 100, and the school should get so much results. So the whole point is taken off studying for the sake of knowledge and learning. That is lost. And the schools are teaching this. The other friends, as you said, might teach that, hey, this is boring, let's go and play some video games. They may teach that, let's smoke, let's drink, let's have fun, let's party. The students may react by saying that, and the children are exposed to that as well. Then they're exposed to our relatives who are constantly comparing. Oh, this cousin's son got this much, this one son got this much, this one's daughter got into medicine, what is your child doing? So this narrative is also there, isn't it? So we as parents, our job is to protect the children from all this and to provide the counter narrative that, look, don't listen to all these stories. I don't expect anything from you but for you to love what you're doing. I expect you to really like this subject. Let's find something interesting in this subject. Let's find why we want to study maths. Maths is good. I mean, the beauty of geometry or the beauty of physics or whatever it is, make it interesting and make it fascinating. And once you do that, the child is a self-motivated learner. Then they don't, even if the other children are saying this or that, they won't bother so much because they have the confidence that this is why I'm studying. I want to study, and this is, my parents will help me to study in this way. And it doesn't matter what marks I get, I am studying for, so that unconscious thing has to come. I don't know whether people think this is very idealistic, but this is how I think it should work. And I think this is probably the way a good, well, sorry to bring faith in again, but I think as Christians, this is the ideal way to look at it. This is God's world. We are studying about God's world in order to find our place of service in God's world.
Correct.
And this is what we should teach our children. If we believe in it, we should teach it to our children.
Correct. And any other question? We are just closing now. I think there's a direct question that has come to me. Consider it anonymous. I'm starting the study state now. Somebody's going to start studying now get into the board of study. So how many hours should I ideally study?
Okay, and then there's a further question here, just which timings is best for study, morning or night? So how many hours totally depends on everybody. There's no hard and fast rule about this, okay? As I said, studying regularly is more important than studying many hours towards the end. If you study regularly, particularly soon after studying something, then it sticks in your mind, you are imprinting it in your mind. So then you don't have to study excessively towards the end because you have been regular throughout. Now, this is a very important lesson, but it's a lesson that many learn a little late, okay? But whatever, it's a job of parents to try and teach this. Which timing is best for study? There's no hard and fast rule about this again. Some people are owls and some people are larks. Some people like to study at night. Some people like to study in the morning. So I think we can leave that to everyone to figure out for themselves. Mary has added that sometimes being grateful and thankful for being able to study is a big thing in India because many cannot afford education. Yes, that's true, Mary. And it comes down to the same attitude of gratitude and studying because it's a great thing to study. Okay, education is investment, very true, and parents spend a lot of money over this. So parents should not, of course, throw it in the children's face that we are spending so much money for you and all. We shouldn't do that. But then children need to understand that parents are spending a lot of money, and therefore it is our duty to study as much as we can, do as well as we can, and also not to put a burden on parents later on that I want to study abroad, I want to study in this fancy college, in this private college, you have to take a loan and make me study. All these things I'm seeing increasingly in students. And parents are mortgaging their houses and and doing all sorts of things in order to somehow get the children into these fancy colleges. Okay, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so friends, I think with that we will close today's session. But many thanks to Dr. Jamila. You can express your gratitude on the chat or your reactions. So thank you so much, Dr. Jamila, and thank you for your time, and also want to thank Mrs. Jacob and Mary, our leaders, and all those who attended. God bless you all and stay in touch. Yeah. So thank you, everyone. Bye.